The wounds looked like bullet holes. The problem was the wounds were massive, maybe some kind of special bullet, and right then, a man appears behind them, wanting to know what these kids are doing in the desert. He switches to a friendly face, asking where the adults are. He's sure the three of them aren't out here alone. Then he gives them another look, saying they got some pretty cute faces. Get out of here, Piketty. But the protagonist is pure Chad. He doesn't care. He just wants to know how far they are from Sector 48. The man starts to say something about heading home, but out of nowhere, Ray slams his head into the ground. Even Philip is left stunned, not sure what just happened. Ray hands him a dagger and says that when he gives the signal, Philip should slit the man's throat. Damn, the boy is decisive. Philip is trembling, dagger in hand. He's never held a weapon like this before, never killed anyone. But he refuses to be a burden. He'll do what Ray told him. Suddenly, he channels his inner Deep What video, warning them that if anyone moves, this guy's throat will gush open. The mercenaries are confused. Turns out these desert kids were tough after all. One of them narrows his eyes, tells the boy to let the man go, asking why they're starting a fight like this. He's about to say he's interested in helping when Ray gives the signal and Philip slashes. Unbelievable, he obeyed. These kids who were just playing house yesterday are now violent on the road. Ray warns that if they lie one more time, next time their throats really will be cut. The man wonders where the hell these devilish kids came from. Then he admits fine, they never had the purest intentions anyway. He signals weapons are drawn, and he warns that they're not outnumbered here. With a single word, everyone could be torn apart. But Ray glares back, posing like it's a thumbnail shot, telling him he wants to see them try. Flames hover inches from their faces, and with that, the mercenaries back down, apologizing, admitting it was a serious crime to mess with desert kids. Ray, completely indifferent back in the carriage, says he doesn't want this turning into a giant mess. All they need to do is answer a few questions, then leave. He asks what they're doing out here. The man in front says they're just searching for something to do with a blue stag with a stone on its head. Ray orders him to explain more. The man hesitates. He doesn't understand what mages are thinking these days, but finally agrees to explain. The client is an old man from Sector 40 who runs a spring, a man known as John Greed, with greed in his name, no less. Supposedly, in his youth, he traveled through these lands and saw the stag with a stone on its forehead. The creature descended from the skies, gave him water or something like that. The story sounds ridiculous, but that's what the old man claimed. Ray believes it since he can tell whether the man is lying and asks where this client can be found. The mercenary hesitates. He's not supposed to leak client information. Then he says the man is very hard to meet in person. But Ray stares him down, and when the mercenary mutters 42, the dagger slices his cheek. Ray warns him not to lie. The man is shaken. It feels like this boy always knows when he's lying. He's lived his whole life as a mercenary, usually able to talk his way out of anything. But this time, nothing works. Finally, he admits, Sector 48 at the Gallet Hotel. That's where the client can be found. The protagonist asks if they're behind the massive herd of stags. The man says no. These creatures normally travel in groups of 12. It would be impossible for a small band of humans to gather so many. Plus, they only arrived in Sector 48 a few days ago, and they're just as shocked as everyone else to see a herd that size. Ray says fine. He'll make one last request. The man breathes in relief, finally thinking he'll be able to leave. He asks the boy what he wants. The protagonist says that because of their little hunt, those beasts ended up crashing into their carriage, and now it's all wrecked. They need enough money to fix it. Before the man can even reply, Ray calls Philip over and tells him to state the price. A moment later, Philip smiles, saying that the robbery, no correction, the honest business transaction, is finished, and he managed to squeeze out 250 shillings. He starts putting it away in the carriage, saying it all belongs to Ray. But the protagonist stops him, saying no, that's not how it works. They'll always split the money equally. Our boy is smart. He knows not being greedy is the best way to keep the group united. The others nod and accept it. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, a blue stag steps out from behind Veronica. They all want to know what's going on, and she looks nervous, unsure how to explain. She admits that when they got close to all those dead beasts, she spotted this one and quietly kept it hidden. She thought it would be too dangerous if those mercenaries notice, so she decided to keep it from everyone. Ray asks if she's really planning to bring it with them. She says yes. Fran would die alone if they abandoned him. He had no hurt anymore, so of course he's coming with them. Philip is confused, asking how the beast already has a name and how she knows it's male. She says she's certain it's a male because he listens to her. Clearly, this girl is trained. Philip hesitates, then asks Ray if he thinks it's right to bring the creature along. The protagonist remembers how, when he climbed onto the carriage earlier, he saw that blue one that almost seemed like a familiar. It also lined up with the story those mercenaries told, so obviously they're taking it. The next day, they finally arrive in Sector 48. Fran is asleep in the carriage while the group walks through the streets, when suddenly, someone appears behind them. The city gang shows up, asking if they've got a minute to chat, demanding to know who gave them permission to walk on this territory. One glare from Ray, and in the very next panel, the gang is already beaten down, muttering that their leader is Renard. Ray orders them to tell their leader to meet him at the Gallet Hotel on 22nd Street. He has business to settle. The gang runs off, panicked. Veronica sighs, saying this has already happened 6 times. She wishes they just stop bothering them. Philip pauses, thinking, and then seems to get an idea. Suddenly, the 3 of them are in new clothes. His thought, if they look like nobles, at least the street punks will stop picking fights. Out of nowhere, Ray's wearing a sharp suit, while Philip keeps his classic detective outfit. He thanks the vendor for the discount, while Ray wonders why they even got one. And so the 3 kids strut through the city, turning heads, but the protagonist notices purple envy glowing in the hearts of countless people. He realizes it's just because of their outfits, pretending to be nobles. He asks Philip why that is, and whether there are other tools that can affect how people are perceived. Philip explains it's not just the clothes, but the style. Some people live ugly in fine clothes and ugly in plain ones too. Meanwhile, our protagonist is radiating pure protagonist aura, leaving nothing for the betas. Finally, they arrive at the enormous Gallet Hotel. Ray's ready to walk right in, but Philip stops him. First, they need to come up with a story that makes sense for all 3. They get to the entrance, and the guard gives them a look and a smirk. Just like that, they pass through without trouble. Philip turns to Ray, asking why he was so bold. He didn't say a single word, just walked straight in. Obviously, the kid checked the man's heart and saw there wasn't any hostility, so he knew it was safe to just keep walking straight in. I still find it crazy how different each sector is. By the time we get to Sector 1, it's gonna be like living in Olympus. No way it's not. And there goes Philip with his 416 IQ, walking up to the doorman and saying they're a little lost. They'd stayed in this hotel recently but forgot the room number. They came to visit their grandfather. The guy asks what their grandfather's name is, and Philip says it's Mr. John Greed. Just like that, the fool at reception reveals it's room 207. They thank him and head straight there. Now we're already at the door, knocking. A man opens, demanding to know what they're doing there and warning they're in the wrong place. Philip explains they found him through the Skyle mercenary group. The man's irritated, but admits maybe they could be of help. Turns out he's not John Greed. He says the representative is busy and they can't waste time on a bunch of kids just because they feel like it. But Ray senses Mana and can tell there are at least 4 more people inside that room. The man orders them to leave before they have to use force. Suddenly, Veronica feels a strange shift in the mana in the air. She looks to the side and sees Ray activating his spell, charging in for an attack. This boy has 0 self-control. But then someone inside says to stop. Another man steps out, welcoming the young ones, while Veronica shakes Ray, asking if he's lost his mind. The Dorna then says that since the master gave permission, it's fine to let the children in, telling them to make themselves comfortable. Naturally, they immediately say they know about the animal he's been looking for. Next chapter shows that he's the water representative colonel, someone involved in water trade in Sector 40. Sitting down, John Greed starts explaining. In the past, the price of clean water was far more expensive than it is now. The poor couldn't even dream of drinking something decent. Ray asks if the water from the Elton River was already dirty back then. The man says yes, full of plastic, filth, and worse. Undrinkable. At the time when not many were left, they were nomads, people expelled from the sectors, forbidden to live in any of them. That's why they wandered the desert. When the first oasis they found dried up, they had to search for another. Obviously, with that kind of life, survival chances were slim. They were about to give up when John decided to go ahead alone, promising he'd find the next one first and then call for the others. His plan barely lasted a day. By nightfall, he was collapsed in the sand, starving. Then suddenly, a drop landed on his arm. Looking up, he saw a stag staring at him. Shocked, he watched as the creature descended, lifted its head, and everything began to shine. Suddenly, an oasis appeared before his eyes. It started to rain, and from that oasis, he built his water business. He worked hard, trying to sell the water as cheaply as possible, because he understood better than anyone the pain of not having anything to drink. To him, it feels like it all happened just yesterday. The problem now is that the spring has been drying up since that day. Most of the other sources that once yielded water have already been developed, and now greedier people are running the business. But he knows that's part of it. Everyone wants money. Families even turn knives on each other because of it. That's why he made the decision to leave the industry. His only wish is to see that stag once more before leaving this world, to thank it for everything it had given him. Funny thing is, his name is John Greed, but he's the kindest man around, and the protagonist says he'll help him. He was going to make sure John could see that stone stag one more time. John says he's already grateful just for the sentiment, but right now he's more interested in knowing who his visitors really are. Out of nowhere, the protagonist says they're mercenaries, leaving the other 2 a little confused. The men in the room almost burst out laughing when suddenly there's a knock at the door. It's that guy from the desert earlier, the one who got beaten down, saying he has something important to report. But the moment he sees the 3 of them there, man, his face drops. He apologizes immediately, admitting he was the one who leaked the location, trying to explain himself. John, however, says it's fine. He's sure the man must have had a good reason to reveal the truth. Then, since the kids had claimed to be mercenaries, he asks Skyle what he thinks. Was that true? John chuckles, saying it's funny how mercenaries nowadays dress like this and say such things. Skyle, though, is thinking the old man is a fool. He doesn't realize he's dealing with mages here. The protagonist realizes their clothes are now backfiring. Sure, they helped them get into the hotel, But nobody's going to believe mercenaries look this clean. So they ask if John Greed really thinks it's impossible for mercenaries to dress this way. John laughs, saying it's not impossible, but mercenaries always carry weapons and usually have special skills. That's when lightning suddenly crackles all around the room. Ray asks if this is the kind of weapon John was talking about. The guy in the purple cloak is thrown off, confused. A mage just